Good morning, everybody. My name is Danny Venna. We are broadcasting live from Wake Forest, North Carolina. And this hangout is called Bobby Smyth Meets Ed McGrath's School of Isshinryu. This is our first meeting online, and we're waiting for him to join. So we'll see. We'll see if we can. It's basically a little test that we're trying to establish. We'll see. We'll see if we can make it into the hangout. While all of that is happening, we will, let's see. Okay, he sent me confirmation for the class. All right, awesome. And now what we'll do is we will copy this link address and we will have him join us. Let's see how that works. Yep. Let's see how that works. You know, Ed McGrath's School of Isshinryu has been an innovator in issues like this over time. We've been trying real hard to get the message out there, and that in doing that, we're finding out that more and more people are comfortable with utilizing a technology like this. I just sent him a message telling him that he can join our link. Now let's see how we do that. All right, so we'll share that. Okay, now let's see, where is my link? Okay, so we have to highlight this. Okay, and now what we can do is, yes, now what we can do is this. That's it. That's all you got to do. And now he'll join us on the Hangout. Okay. And how that works is, let's go to YouTube. Yep. And now what we got to do here is we have to there he is. That's him. How are you?
Hello, how are you?
I see you're in here. So the technology
Oh,
works.
great. Oh, great. I was
Okay,
kind of
and it's
concerned
not
it
up.
wouldn't work or not.
Now, hopefully, you'll be able to see this. I want to see if I can get this in here. Let's see. I'm going to, let's see. Let's put this in here. I don't know if you have all of the same. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. You were just broken up a little bit, but now I can hear you.
I don't know if you have the same features that I do, but I just attached Saison Kata in the YouTube portion of our Hangout, and it's the founder of the system, Shimabuku
Okay.
Sensei, and he's the best one to watch.
Okay.
So, hello, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm really happy that we're able to do this because my next option was to take a 5-hour train ride to another city to to study. So, um, and it was, I believe that the school not really doesn't have any authentic lineage anywhere. So it was just a way to try to get my feet into the system. But this is great that I found you.
Well, let me ask you, do you know anything about Isshinryu Karate?
I've read about it off and on over the years. Being from New Jersey, I studied the urban Goju system, and Mr. Urban and Mr. Nagel, I believe they were friends from Union, New Jersey, but they also competed against each other, I guess, in Madison Square Garden in the early 60s. Yeah.
So you're familiar
Um,
with that.
just from being in New Jersey, yeah, but I didn't study the system at all.
All right, well, where, let me, since you know Peter Urban, or you know of Peter Urban, and you know of Don Nagel,
Mhm.
and you come from New Jersey,
Right, right.
um, when Sensei Nagel came back from the Marine Corps, and Sensei Peter Urban came back from the Navy, obviously they went back to Jersey. It's where they lived.
Right.
So they're considered the pioneers of bringing Goju Karate and Isshinryu Karate to the East Coast anyway.
Correct. Yeah.
Those two men were the first ones back from Okinawa and Urban in Japan. So they brought us back a curriculum based on what they learned while they were in the Marine Corps.
Correct.
So these men, to us practitioners here in the States, they're revered. They were the first ones back. Boxing was big in this country. So was judo, actually. As a martial art, judo was very popular in this country. When I say popular, I mean it wasn't on every street corner, but judo was here. Judo was here in this country. So them being first home with a system of karate, very interesting. So knowing that Mr. Nagel, a full-grown Marine, probably weighed about 145, 146 pounds, skin and bones, like lightning,
Right.
um, the best shape of his life being in the Marine Corps. Um, they certainly weren't overfeeding him for sure because he was very skinny. But he
Right.
comes back to
Right.
the States now, Bobby, and he establishes a dojo in Jacksonville, North Carolina, with a with another Marine. His name is Ernie Cates, who was the 61 and 62 Marine Corps judo champion. So when Professor Cates came back from Japan and Okinawa, he started a dojo, and Don Nagel palled up with him in Jacksonville, North Carolina. Once Master Nagel got released and got sent home back to New Jersey, he left my sensei, Ed McGrath, who was still serving in the Marine Corps, that dojo in Jacksonville, North Carolina. So when Sensei Nagel went home Mr. McGrath continued to teach the Marines at that location, which is a famous location, because we get credit for being the first Isshinryu dojo here in the United States. And we did. We fouled up with Professor Ernie Cates, who will be on our radio program at the end of this month, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we are going to have a show with him because he's helped me. See, I'm new to North Carolina. I'm a New Yorker.
Okay.
Maybe you can pick it up in my accent, but I'm not from the South.
Right, right.
I've lived in New York my whole life. I'm 55. I've been here for about 3 years. So for 52 years, I lived in, I was born in Queens, worked in all the 5 boroughs, and I'm a New Yorker, okay? So, and a big Yankee and Giants fan.
Right.
So, as Mr. McGrath, since he got left at dojo in Jacksonville, North Carolina, that was in 1959. So Ed McGrath's School of Isshinryu was born in 1959, the year I was born.
Wow.
Once Mr. McGrath finished up with his Marine Corps duties and got sent back home, he went back to Brooklyn. And when he got married, moved to Queens. Well, he opened up a dojo in Queens. I don't know if you know these masters, but Sensei Cofield, Sensei Duncan, Sensei La Puppet, Dr.
Oh, yeah.
Moses Powell.
I'm very familiar with names. Yeah.
All of these men warmed my sensei because I mean he was just incredible. So he opened up a dojo, and when he did that, we got our base of students here in New York. Now keep in mind, Sensei was in the Marine Corps, made it to the rank of captain. So while he was taking lessons from Don Nagel, Don Nagel was an enlisted man. Officers usually don't hang out with enlisted people, but so on the deck, Don Nagel was the sensei. In the Marine Corps, Mr. McGrath was the was the officer. So they had that relationship, and you have to know that, because it's a very, very key component in why when Don Nagel passed away, he chose my sensei to be his successor. Don Nagel trained a lot of black belts.
Yeah.
Why he picked my sensei is 1 is loyalty, 2 was talent, and 3 was, our school produced some of the greatest Isshinryu karatekas ever. Some of our fighters that came from Mr. McGrath's lineage, speaks for itself. So, anyway, we wind up now building students, getting more and more black belts into Ed McGrath's School of Isshinryu. Dr. Barry Steinberg has been with Sensei for 50 years.
Wow.
Can you imagine having a student for 50 years?
Yeah. It's lasts longer than some marriages.
Correct, sir. So the loyalty that we share between student and sensei with Mr. McGrath is just a wonderful human interaction, because he's just a hell of a guy. Anyway, so once the school moves to Long Island, and also Mr. McGrath moved to Long Island, that's where I came in, because I met him when he opened up his school in Long Island. Now, in Lindenhurst, which is the dojo where I met Sensei, I was very young, a very, very young person. I was getting beat up in school, and said to Sensei I would love to, I actually went there with my mom, was my mom saw an ad in the local paper, and she brought me to go see him. And when I started to take lessons from this guy, I didn't know what karate was. I didn't know what martial arts was. I certainly didn't know what Isshinryu was.
Right.
I couldn't even say Isshinryu. So once they got a hold of me and I saw what was going on in this place, I was amazed. I was amazed. I could not believe what I was seeing. Now remember, I was a youngster, so very impressionable. But I mean, when a guy like Dr. Steinberg would come to the class and you would watch him do whatever he was doing, I aspired to want it to be like that. And for the rest of my journey up to this point, I continue to learn and grow with those people that Sensei originally trained. They're some of his most trusted black belts. When I got involved, oddly enough, I met his daughter. And I wound up marrying her and having 4 children with her. So my sensei, I have a very unique relationship with my sensei. I worked for him, you know, in our professional career. I worked for him, so he was my boss. He became my friend over all these years, almost 45 years now. He's my instructor. He's my sensei. And he's my father-in-law.
Yeah.
What was I thinking? Oh my God. So, you know, when it come to his karate, Bobby, he was very, I mean, when it come to his daughter, you know, that's his family. When it come to his karate, that's his karate family. When it come to, you know, you touching either one of those things, you know, Sensei was very protective of those things, you know, especially his eldest daughter, for goodness sakes. So I went on to become a black belt with this guy, and it was not easy. As a matter of fact, my Shodan test lasted 3 weeks, and Peter Urban, because they were all friends, one of the stops that I had to make was the Chinatown Dojo.
Oh, wow, the Chinatown Dojo, huh?
That was some. I mean, those fighters in there. I mean, they beat the shit out of me. Okay.
That's where I had gotten my start originally. My parents made me go to karate classes when I was 5, almost 6 years old, because a boy in kindergarten or something bit my ear and I was crying, and my father didn't want to have any of that, so he took me to Joe Hess and Ed Veriken's dojo, the first one in Wildwood, New Jersey, and oh, I hated it. I was getting kicked and punched by kids older than me, and it was. Then I didn't know at the time who Master Urban was, but we knew that it was a no-nonsense place, and unfortunately they closed down, and then I started training through Rick Passetta's lineage, and I just heard the stories, and I heard all the stories with Don Nagel students as well, and between Don Nagel and Peter Urban's students, they were feared on the West Coast when it came to competitions. They were feared by the West Coast competitors.
They just couldn't touch us. They taught us a brand of karate. Let me just sum it up so I'm not long-winded. Isshinryu left in its original design, its original architecture is deadly. It was designed, as you know, out of the Goju-Ryu system and the Shorin-Ryu system. That's where we get our katas from. And then we have one of our own katas, which is Sun Tzu. But all the other 8 empty hand katas that we practice come from other styles. So,
right.
Nagel I guess Nagel was born to be a practitioner because, as I said before, boxing was very big in this country. That's what they did here. They did boxing. Some wrestling, but most of the kids, like the youths, they joined the boxing league or, Golden Gloves if they had some talent. Um, so baseball, football, and boxing, were big in this country when Nagel was a kid. And coming from your neighborhood, it was not easy growing up in that neighborhood. There was a lot of fighting and, stuff like that. So his study with the master was not extensive. He didn't spend years and years and years with the founder, and they couldn't speak to one another. The founder, Shimabuku Sensei, couldn't speak English, and Don Nagel didn't know how to speak Okinawan, so
Right.
the only way they learned was by touch.
Right. Right.
You
Right.
know, they had to, just like you're going to do with me. I'm going to
Okay.
show you something, and it's almost like as if we had a language barrier because we're not in the same room. But since you have an understanding of basic architecture, if I show you something, the concept is not brand new to you. So you'll pick it up very quickly. But this is my point. This is my point. I go to a lot of tournaments. I do workshops. I teach seminars. I go to different events, different dojos within the Isshinryu community and the martial arts community because I am very involved in. I'm an Isshinryu practitioner, but I'm a martial artist at heart. Don Nagel told me any martial art is good. Any martial art is good. It may be the instructor that needs help, but any martial art is good. Anything that promotes team, especially for children, is very good. Build that sense of camaraderie. So he brought home a brand of jitsu called Isshin. The Isshin Jitsu is modern. Tatsuo Shimabuku modernized the architecture. He made it a battle style of karate. It's not for show. Isshinryu's not for show. It's not very pretty. We don't have, flowery techniques.
Right.
It's
Right.
very short, direct, to the point. Now we have all the jitsu. We have the joint locks. We have submissions. We have takedowns. We have groundwork. We have weapons. So we have a full curriculum. Is in order to be recognized by the Kodokan, we had to have the Kabuto. We had to have the Inkatas, all of the basics, the upper body, lower body. We had to have a formidable curriculum, and Shimabuku Sensei used some of the best and finest masters on Okinawa at that time to help him formalize Isshin. Shankin, Tiara Shankin Sensei, formed all of our Kabuto katas to help Shimabuku present Tokumini no Kun, Shishi, Urashi, Kusan Kusai, Kian no Sai. Kian was, one of the villages and masters that he studied under. So he paid homage to all of the instructors that taught him in the katas. And then he made his own kata, Sun Tzu. As a practitioner,
To be honest with you, Sensei, I've really been trying to read up as much as I can on everything for probably like 2 weeks now, because I thought I was going to have to do whatever training I could in Isshinryu on my own. I was disappointed because I would do it on my own, whether it was through YouTube videos or however. I knew I wanted to learn it because years ago had kind of given up on the, I want to say, more traditional arts, because I was young, and I thought, I don't want to waste any time doing katas, and so I kind of got into more of the Brazilian jiu-jitsu stuff, and now I'm 43 years old, and um, I I'm disappointed that I had left so many years behind on what I could have improved on kata, and now it's my own personal Tai Chi, so to speak, and I'm working back on the old USA Goju forms, but I've always did have an interest just from the stories that I heard as a kid about Isshinryu, how it was the combination of Shorin-ryu and Goju-ryu. Um, and now it's all fallen together for me, so to speak. And
Good. Good.
I tried to do some research and try to find, you know, which direction I could go, and then it seems like there's a lot of controversy on who, and that's how it kind of it brought me to your Google website, was because of your lessons through your father-in-law through Don Nagel. So I'm happy I found your website, or your Google channel. So I'm looking forward to it.
See you later, Mom. All right.
You guys are going to have to work on my dryer.
Why?
Because it's shutting itself down.
Yeah, so it's probably clogged.
Yeah. So
Probably needs to be cleaned.
cleaned out pretty good.
Well, I'll tell you.
I appreciate you responding back to me, and again, I'm really excited about getting started.
Well, this is a good test. Now we got the link set up. We know how to do it. Bobby, I have a responsibility to my sensei, because one of the things he always talked about, and that was keeping Don Nagel's legacy alive. I'm of the believer that if you do the work, and you're receptive to doing the work, and you're sincere about it, it pays enormous dividends. You had mentioned that, you're disappointed that all this time went by and this and that. All right. It's something you can't get back. Because once you spend your time, you can't. It's done. It's spent. I spent many hours in the dojo with Sensei. I helped him teach the Marine Corps, and he loves his Marines. So
Yeah.
you're very lucky that you made the choice to go after this thing, Isshin, whatever it is, find out about it. Everybody should, everybody that's interested should find themselves a way and a means. Now, you happen to pick me because of what you found out, whatever. There was a correlation between Urban, Nagel, New Jersey, this and that. So just put this in your mind. Don Nagel, he's gone now. He died in 1999, Don Nagel. But from that day to this day, the legacy he leaves behind speaks for itself. He was one hell of a fighter. He wasn't my sensei. He was my sensei's teacher. So we interacted a lot with Sensei Nagel over the years. Whether he would come to Long Island or we would go to New Jersey, we interacted a lot with Sensei Nagel. Sensei Nagel liked me. Sensei Nagel liked the way I fight. He loved my kata, loved the way I handle the weapon. So I got the endorsement of Sensei's teacher. And that's a wonderful thing, because as you practice and as you become an instructor, which is our job is to practice the system, learn it, and then hopefully become an instructor and get the message out there, become that conduit. So knowing that all of the heads of Isshinryu got together and named Don Nagel the leader of American Isshinryu. When he died, he left my sensei that chair. And that speaks volumes, because my sensei was a great, great fighter. Taught us, a very smart man too, sensei, very, very intelligent. So the training that we got not only came from the Isshinryu black belts of that era and time, but sensei was very popular. You know, he was known as the voice of karate at McGrath. So he introduced us to everybody, from Judo Gene LaBelle to Sensei Ronald Duncan. Okay?
Right.
We worked out with these guys. We learned from these guys. Sensei was very loyal to Isshinryu, but wanted his fighters to be as well-rounded as possible. That's why he made us fight standing up, and he made us fight on the ground, because most fights go to the ground anyway.
Right.
He even brought in Yamada Sensei to teach us Aikido and the softness of Aikido. So after all this time, learning from those men and now teaching youngsters, the youngsters say to me, Sensei, how is it that you could take this kind of abuse? How is it that we could hit you full force? You know, try to really put a dink in your armor and it's nothing to you. So I said, well, the benefit of Sanchin Kata over time now, you can't do this overnight, it takes time. But if you study the principles of Sanchin Kata, between the breathing, mental, physical aspect of the kata, it builds strength. I call it body armor. Now, if you shoot me, of course, the bullet will go through me. I can't stop a bullet.
Right.
But when it comes to getting punched or kicked, I guess since I've been getting punched and kicked all my life, you get this resistance. The body gets this resistance to getting hit. It's just conditioning, you know. So this is something that Don Nagel, Ed McGrath, and some of the other Isshinryu sensei say about me, because I'm not a big man. I'm only about 5'11". So I'm not tall, but like Sensei Urban, very stocky. I'm a stocky dude, you know. And Sensei taught me how to move. Sensei taught me how to, you know, get in and out of places very quickly. And that's the essence of Isshin Karate. Quick movements, very precise movements, deadly.
Yeah,
Deadly.
I like everything that I've read about, and you know, I'm not in a hurry for anything. I want to achieve my own self satisfaction of getting every detail that I need for every technique, every kata, and just be happy with what I'm doing.
Think
Again,
of it this way. Do you know what a snap-on toolbox is?
Yeah.
Well, think of it this way. Think of you just got a brand new $100,000 snap-on toolbox.
Right,
Now you got to
right.
put the tools in it. Just the toolbox is $100 grand. Now you got to put the tools
absolutely.
in. Each one of the tools, I mean, you could buy a set of ratchets from Snap-on that cost like, you know, $1,000.
Right.
Each tool has this remarkable value. Whether you're doing a brake job or you're doing an engine job or you're doing a tranny, Isshinryu provides you with this Snap-on toolbox. I use Snap-on because my brother was a mechanic and he said that that was the best. Snap-on tools are the
Right.
most
Right.
expensive and top shelf, in other words. So Isshinryu gives you this Snap-on toolbox. You have to go and get the tools now, all the katas and all the inherent jitsu. I tell my students like this: you have access to my toolbox. All the I won't hold nothing back from you. All the tools that are in my toolbox, you have access to them. I give you the key. I have 2 rules with my toolbox. Very simple rules. Because I give you access to the toolbox, the only thing I'm going to ask you to do is, when you go to the toolbox and you take a tool out and you use it and you practice with it, before you put it away, make sure it's clean. I don't want to go to my toolbox and pick up an oily tool.
Right.
You should
Right.
clean it
Right.
off. Clean it off. And then the other thing, the other rule is, wherever you got the tool, just make sure you put it back in that spot. In other words, if you take a ratchet, don't put it back in my screwdriver drawer. Put it back in the
Correct.
ratchet drawer, so I know where it
Understood.
is.
Understood.
Those are the only 2 stipulations I give on the tools. Only because what I'm going to show you and the tools I'm going to give you, if used properly, are very effective. So we have to be very, very careful with how we administer these tools. Karate is not for offense. Karate is supposed to be used to defend oneself.
Correct.
So it's not a strict, or no, it's not too difficult of a rule, but it is very strict. If you break the rule, one is you'll break my heart, and 2, I don't want to have anything to do with you, because I gave you the terms and conditions of our relationship up front. I give you the key, I give you access. Just put the tool back clean and put it back where you got it. That's it. Now, if you apply those rules to your karate, it's very, very, it's a very clean way of doing it. Because I don't hold, like as soon as you said Isshinryu, the first thing I gave you was Seisan kata. It's a black belt kata. You have to understand that. In other systems, they may call it Seisan Shodan, because in order for you to know the whole kata, you would have had to have learned all the Pinan katas to get you to Seisan. Well, in Shimabuku's world, he starts his white belts off with Seisan because of his architecture, of the way he designed the system. So again, very modern style of karate. Now, we're born in the 50s. Isshin was born in the 50s, January 15, 1956. But again, that's a very modern style of formal, authentic karate on the island of Okinawa. Now go to Okinawa and you'll see Shotokan, you'll see Isshinryu, you'll see Goju-ryu. There's not much. In the place where we were born, there's not much. Isshinryu is not
No.
very big on the island.
No. And in fact, I was just in the States, the United States, back in. Well, I arrived back here in Romania towards the end of September. But in September, I had stopped off at one of the martial arts supply stores, and I was looking for a place to just try to get my feet wet in the art, and I was asking the gentleman, because he had advertisements for schools everywhere, and I said I'd like to find an Isshinryu school to learn a little bit about the physical part of the system. And he's like, oh, you got to go way up North Jersey for that, my friend. And the only thing that was around the area was offsprings of Peter Urban and Rick Passetta's Goju, and even that, since even though it's only been a short time since Rick Passetta had passed away, the system is pretty much already changing. Everybody is doing what they want now. They're adding musical katas to their their routines, and I don't want any parts of that. So I'm better off staying in my bedroom and training. So I'm really happy.
I only know what they brought back from Okinawa. So Nagel gave us 3 things to remember and teach: thumb on top, heel toe, speed, balance, focus. Very simple.
Now, Sensei, tonight when we do this when we do this online class, should I have a notebook for taking notes down for what we'll be working on and what I should be working on in what order?
Well, what I'm going to do now that I have your email, I'm going to send you the student booklet. So it has all the terms in it and the katas and the history, and it's a whole student booklet. I mean, Sensei's been building this thing for 55 years.
Great.
It has a lot of information in it. Okay, has the requirements, what you got to know, and I mean, Sensei took his time. He really did a great job. So I have your email now. I'll send you the book.
Okay.
Read it. My students, they come to class with it, so it's a working document. It's a living working document. I make notes in it. I track their progress. I make notes about their seistan, their seiyuchin. Yeah, I really, and then you know what it also serves? I'm not going to be here forever. When these kids, I got an 11-year-old kid here, all right? In 40 years from now, he's still going to have that book. He's still going to be working from that book, okay? So it's a wonderful tool. Sensei loved it. Sensei used to have us sign he used to sign our book at the end of the class. In other words, if you were a white belt and you learned, let's say, Seisan. Once you learned Seisan, he gave you an acknowledgement. Okay, you're a white belt. He put your rank down, and he said, Seisan Kata. All right? And he put the date. This way you have a timeline, a track of what you did, which was something that the old timers they didn't build. Peter Urban did, however. This technique came from Sensei Urban because he was a very, very smart man. Sensei Urban was very, very smart. He had a way of captivating you with his words. And he told us, in your diplomas, in your promotion certificates, not only in English do you write certain things in there, and that you put certain things on your diplomas that are unique to you, so that they know that came from you. You know what I mean?
Right.
My 5th Dan paperwork, it's the only certificate that Sensei issued that's different from the normal certs, because 5th degree black belt is your first entry into becoming what we call a senior instructor. When you're a 5th Dan in Isshinryu, you're allowed to have, certain things that acknowledge your apprenticeship to becoming a full-fledged Isshinryu instructor, that you know all the jitsu, You know all the empty hand katas. You know all the kabuto katas. You know how to teach them. You have already achieved another black belt. In other words, I have over the years trained black belts. Those black belts have gone on to train black belts. So me personally, I am like a grandpa to some students because
Right.
I trained their sensei. And their sensei
Senseis
trained them.
exist because you exist.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. And that was the commitment. When I made black belt, sensei said to me, okay, I made you a black belt now. You have to act like one. That means you have to represent Don Nagel and Shimabuku sensei in a certain way. You have to have a certain behavior. When you speak to people, you have to have a certain approach, especially your students. If you want to gain trust with your students, um, especially if you're going to bleed with them, and we do, we get nicked up here. Um, that takes a certain amount of practice. Okay, you have to practice at that. So I've learned so many things from Sensei McGrath about capturing somebody's attention for more than 5 seconds anyway, and trying to produce a result. You know, I'm results driven. You put this in, you got to get this out. So
Right.
if you're putting this in and you're getting out something that's not right, something's wrong. Okay?
Right.
And then if you want to break it down to the curriculum level, some may say, oh, you got your black belt, you know, in 18 months or in a year. Time has nothing to do with it.
No.
All right? Time has nothing to do with it. What has to do with it is knowledge. If you can prove that you can learn and display the curriculum properly, time has nothing to do with it. It has to do with your level of commitment. I give you the tool. This
I
is how
watched
you
the
use the tool.
video of Sensei McGrath explaining on an interview that he did about that, the difference between when he was in Okinawa and Marines were getting their black belts in a year, and people were saying, how is it possible they're getting black belts in a year? It's taken us 5 years. And he said, because we were training 5 or 6 hours a day. And that's, yeah.
All right, so it's based on your level of commitment. Now, let me make this clear. I don't have any junior black belts. I don't have what's called a Shodan Ho. I don't have it. I never did. The reason for that, if you can beat me up in a fight, that tells me that you've studied well enough that your footwork, your technique, your application, and the way you deploy the technique is correct. I have a youngster here that just turned 17. I made him a brown belt, but he's a black belt. This kid, he is. He's got the kabuto katas. He's got the empty hand katas. He's got the jitsu. He's got the behavior. He's got the knowledge. He's got the time on the deck. He's got everything he needs. He's 17 years old. He has put me on a knee. This kid kicked me where, you know, all right, stop a second. I got to take a breath. That hurt. All right.
Right.
So I know he gets it. But I will not make him a black belt until he displays the, I don't want to use the word adult. What am I searching for? See, I told him, I'm sure. There's no question in my mind. If I have to deploy a technique, whatever comes out of me, comes out of me. I don't think about it. I don't hesitate. I just do it because I'm sure. You, on the other hand, you're young. What have you experienced? You ever been in a fight? You ever have somebody punch you? No. Okay, well, until that day, it's tough to be a black belt because um, I'm not saying that you got to get punched to be a black belt. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is you have to have the wisdom and the knowledge that when you get hit like that, what's your response? See, I know what my response is. If you don't knock me out and stop me, I know what my response is going to be. The only response that I can't give you is if you knock me out. But if you don't knock me out, I know what my response is going to be. I've been there before. I've done that. So for me, Sensei made me a black belt because he took me to other schools and I fared well. So, he trusted me. He trusted my karate. He knew that what he taught me worked. Well, it's very hard for these kids today to go out of the dojo, and I take Jacob to other dojos, but it's different. They can't fight like we used to. They get in trouble.
I know what you're talking about, and that's what I've tried to tell my students in the past as well. I said I used to get knocked out when I was 9 years old, and they would take you by the feet and drag you to the side of the floor and give you a wet towel, and that's it. Now you're not even allowed to touch a student. You're not allowed to touch anybody. And like you said, it's a matter of being seasoned.
Yeah.
So you're not walking out of the dojo with a sense false of security.
That's right.
And
that's the worst.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot.
That's the worst that I could do for these kids is teach them a front snap kick, and they think, oh, that's it. No, it's not. No, it's not. Yeah. Kick me with that same kick.
Right.
As hard as you can. Kick me with that same kick and watch what happens. Nothing.
Right.
You didn't do nothing to me. So if you think, see, that's why I make them hit me. Sensei used to get angry at me. He says to me, why you let them hit you like that? And I said, Sensei, things have changed, I can't take them to other dojos and have them drop a back fist on a fellow student and bust their nose. Right. So I have to have them come here, Sensei, and they got to put me on a knee. If they put me on a knee, that's good. Then I know their karate's working, Sensei. To this day, he doesn't like it, but he understands it.
Well, I really appreciate the approach that you take to the way you go about. I was watching. The whole day yesterday, I was watching hours and hours of the videos that you had on your channel here. And I appreciate the details that you put into it.